Hi, I'm Kevin Harrington, an original shark from the hit TV show Shark Tank. Welcome to this edition of Business Icons. And I have a very special guest today, Navy Dowdy. And Navy, it's great to have you here. I know you are a nationally recognized speaker and author, as well as a tax and wealth specialist. Welcome to the show. And I said a mouthful there. So, but I want to start by asking you the kind of client that you have. What kind of client is it that you actually help?
Well, it's great to be here, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you.
I'm usually dealing with people who are affluent, successful executives, retirees, or women on their own. Or it could be anybody on their own.
Oh, okay. So, but does an entrepreneur fall in there? Is a guy like me able to get in with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's just, I look back at my clientele, that's who I've ended up working mostly.
Oh, good. That's fantastic. So now.
And entrepreneurs retire now and then, too.
Well, yeah. Well, because when I think of, your specialty of preparing people for possibly retirement and the rest of their life. Entrepreneurs have had ups and downs over time, so it's good to be able to come in and be a stabilizing force for an entrepreneur, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So now, as you are helping these kind of clients, they have certain needs at the same time, right? So what are some of the things that you run into from the different levels of people that you service, and what kinds of things are unique about them, or the things that you can help them with?
I think the biggest thing to look at is taxes, because if you think about what's your biggest expense in your life, it's going to be taxes. If I ask a lot of people that, they'll say their house or maybe medical, but for most people it's taxes. So it doesn't matter what else you do if you don't deal with the tax issue. You only get to keep what you have after taxes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So it was funny when I said you're a tax and wealth specialist. That means if you handle your taxes appropriately, then that leads to wealth, right?
You have more.
It's a sort of a, if you do this, then that, right? So it makes total sense. And so the clients then, as you prepare them for these situations. Today, when I think of how long people are living, I mean, is this an issue? Because so they've paid taxes, but now how do you prepare them for the long haul? Because they are, people are living longer. So you've got their taxes that you're preparing them for, but how do you plan for that wealth future so they have the money to provide for themselves as they get older?
Well, that's true. A lot of people will be in retirement longer than they worked, which is really amazing.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to the 60s, everybody watching knows somebody that retired at 65 and died back when they were kids. But nowadays, you're just getting started at 65.
Right. Yeah.
So people are living a lot longer. They'll need much, much more money.
Right.
And, if you think about, you kind of distill it all down, what do people really want? And I've been doing this since the early 70s. I've found that what do they really, truly want? You can put it in three categories. Peace of mind is first.
Peace of mind. Good.
Peace of mind.
Yeah.
And peace of mind to make sure that they have enough. Even though they may have a lot of money, people still want to make sure that they have enough.
It's getting a good night's sleep, peace of mind. I like that, right?
Yeah, sleep at night, peace. And it's also that to have the peace of mind that when they pass it on, who do they pass it on to, and is it okay for them?
Right.
In some cases, is it too much?
Right.
What Warren Buffett is famous for saying, I'm going to leave my kids enough money so they can do anything they want, but not enough so they can do nothing.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. That's a good one, right?
Yeah, and then secondly, I find that people want, just the idea that they can walk away if they want to.
Okay, there you go. That's great.
If they want to. Not that they are going to want to if they're entrepreneurs, have their own business. Those of us who have our own business, that's our baby. We work on our business like you. Yeah. But they want to be able to walk away if they wanted to.
Yeah. So now, when I think about hiring a tax or wealth specialist for my own life, I would be looking for someone that's seasoned, and I think that so this brings me to the question of your background and story and how you got into this, because you've had a few years of expertise in this field.
I have, yes. Couple things. I remember driving down the street and this was way back in the 60s,
Okay.
and they had a news announcement that said that the people that most wanted to get out of the profession they had was teachers. And I thought, that's really a tragedy, because arguably the most important job in society, right? They're preparing the next generation. So I always had that in my background. And then I watched my grandparents. My grandmother, they were very successful. My grandfather was a chief engineer at a paper company, built the giant power plants and everything, but when he died, his pension ended. Mm-hmm. And she ended up living on Social Security. And the typical widow in America lives about 20 years as a widow. She lived 35 years, so it was really a big struggle for her.
Right.
And
just Social Security at that point,
just Social
right?
Security.
Yeah.
She had a little bit of stock left, and she had to move in with one of our relatives, and they took her to their investment person, lost all her money. So she ended up really literally broke. And I saw those as financial predators.
Oh, wow.
Not necessarily people, but I always, that was kind of what got me interested in doing this kind of planning. And then I always thought about how do we avoid those financial predators?
Right. So how many years total now have you been in this field?
I started in 1972.
Oh, my goodness. You're one of the original pioneers of the business, it sounds like, right? That's pretty amazing, right? So I always like to talk about challenges. We've talked about a few challenges. You're living the 35 years of retirement, versus the average. What did you say is 20?
20
a widow
years
usually, right? So what are some of the other challenges that some of the folks that you're working with are running into?
Well, again, it's taxes, I think, is the biggest thing. And there's all kinds of questions about that. What do you subject to tax? I've spent most of my career saying, let's avoid the taxes, put them off as long as we can. However, we're now at really low tax rates as we do this. And so we have a golden opportunity to deal with the tax issue between now and 2026.
Oh, great.
January 1st, 2026.
Yeah.
Probably after that, nobody knows for sure, but probably after that, taxes go up, maybe dramatically, a lot of people think.
Right.
So should we subject some of the money to taxes now? Should it be inside or outside your estate? Mm-hmm. How do you do that? I see people all the time where they're going to be subjected to taxes, and particularly transfer taxes, and then it goes to their kids, and their estate's going to be subjected to it all over again. So it's tax after tax after tax.
Wow, a lot of things to consider here. And so because, as we said, if you handle your taxes the right way, this leads to more wealth. That brings me to the next question of healthcare, because that can be very expensive as you're living longer, so it's more expensive as you get older. Do you help at all, and is that part of the tax planning strategy also?
I don't do myself a lot with health care. Long-term care is another thing, because half the people will spend some time in some kind of long-term care facility. And there again, you see people where their parents are spending down all their money for health or for long-term care, wasting the tax deduction.
Right.
There are ways that that you can get that tax deduction.
Right. So I know my father lived till he was 93, and one day an advisor that we brought in came in with a program that ended up saving literally tens of thousands of dollars a year in the costs that he was incurring. And for me, it was just such an eye-opener that a good advisor finds these availabilities of opportunities, right? And so that's great to hear straight from the horse's mouth. So, I got to do the math, but this is north of 40 years of experience in this field,
46.
right? 46 years as a tax and wealth specialist. I just have to ask you, Navy, the people that are listening out there, I'm going to say they need some good advice, and they maybe have some more questions for you. Where can they track you down, or do you have anything else you might be able to offer them where they could, come to some place to communicate with you?
Well, the easiest would be just to go to DuPageTaxGroup.com
Okay.
or NaviDowdy.com, either one. They can get, I put up some special reports that they can get for free, 5 easy ways to save taxes. Just go get that.
5 easy ways. Well,
5 easy ways.
That sounds simple.
There are a lot, but
yeah,
there's 5.
And NaviDowdy.com, there's no one else probably using that one.
Probably
right?
not.
So I think you locked that one in, right?
Right.
NaviDowdy.com. But I want to, first of all, I want to thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. And speaking to somebody in 46 years in the business, if you have any questions for Navy, go to NaviDowdy.com. And I want to thank you for being here for this edition of Business Icons.